Welcome to the first edition of the Ellis Highlight Reel Show relaunch. I'm your host, as always, Brandon Ellis. I got my main guy, Patrick Height, with me from the News Leader. Say what's up, Patrick.
Hey, Brandon, thanks for having me on.
Yeah, man, this is gonna be it's gonna be a nice episode. Just catching up like old times on the sidelines.
Yeah,
Uh
usually we're standing next to each other on a football sideline
I
sometimes.
know, or baseball sideline, or yeah. So, but
Yeah.
now we're doing it nice, chill, relax. As we start with San Antonio District play tonight. Um, Most of the teams are in action. The only two are off are Allegheny and Wilson Memorial. Wilson Memorial is a lot of people's favorite in the Shenandoah District, as we'll get into. Um, as we get into with the preview, and also at the end, we'll talk about Eli Crawford, his hire over the summer at Waynesboro for boys basketball. I am really looking forward to that discussion. So, let's go ahead and let's get started with the football action for tonight. Our football action and talk about the Shenandoah District overall. I'll let you roll, Patrick. Let you start with stuff, and I'll ask away.
Well, you mentioned Wilson, and they are I mean, what is it? In order to be the champ, you got to beat the champ. So until they lose, I mean, they're the defending district champions. Until they lose, they're the team to beat in the Shenandoah District. I had a chance to talk to all the coaches, um, and I asked them anonymously because I knew they weren't going to put their names to this, right? But anonymously, who if you can't pick your own team, who's the favorite to win the district? And Wilson was the favorite of the coaches. Um, Riverheads was second there, and both Buffalo Gap and Stewart Straff got votes, but Wilson is the overall favorite. We'll see. They got to replace Kevon Jones, right? Kevon
Yep.
was their do everything player a year ago. We knew Kevon was going to have a big year, but then in the first game of the season, Logan Podgorski, their quarterback, goes out in the first half of the first game.
Yes.
He's done for the season,
Yeah.
and Kevon has to go in at quarterback. And
Hmm.
Kevon plays quarterback the rest of the season. People forget he was I don't know if people forget this or not, but we make so much of his offense. He was the defensive player of the year last year in the district.
Yes.
He would have been the offensive player of the year if it wouldn't have been for a kid named Des Jordan down in Allegheny. But
Yes.
Kevon was so good, and they've got to figure how to fill that role. Like not one player is not going to step in and take over for Kevon.
No.
Uh, Kevon was so good offensively, defensively, off the field. I mean, he was a role model. The kids looked up to him. He was a team leader. He was just he was one of those players that every coach wants to have.
Yeah.
And how do you fill the roles that he held on that team? Well, Logan Podgorski is back at quarterback. We will see how much impact that has. That's kind of the offense they wanted to go with last year. Now they're going to
Mhm.
have him. Should be 100% healthy. We'll see. We'll see how
Without
that
his dad
goes.
on the sidelines as well, because he took the job at replacing Major, so that's gonna be
That's right. His
unique.
his dad. I'm not sure if his dad was going to coach this year or not. Anyway, for some reason, I have it in the back of my mind that the
Oh,
kid's
that's
dad
right. I
said he
think
wasn't going to
the
coach
last
this
year was
year.
the last year anyway. Yeah,
I
I
don't
forgot about
know,
that.
but he was there last year, and yes, not having his dad there. We'll see how that goes. But I think he's a solid quarterback, and I think he doesn't have to be the star. That's the thing he's got to remember. He doesn't have to be the star of this team. They've got other. Kevon was so good, but other players got overshadowed because of that, right? You got
Yep.
Clinton Coffey on that team. You got Ainsley McAllister.
Yep.
You got Nolan Deaver. You got Camden Klein. I mean, you've got some offensive weapons that all Logan has to do is manage that offense, get that ball to some of those weapons, and
Yep.
I think Wilson will be really good. Their defense is going to be strong again. They're always built on defense. I just think right now they are probably the team to beat.
Yeah,
Riverheads
because that's
may
the
have
thing.
something to say about that at
Yeah,
some
yeah,
point.
as we'll get into with Riverheads, because that. I mean, that is the question for me that I'll ask you. Other than Riverheads, do you think anybody else in the district can give a legit shot to Wilson Memorial to overtake it?
I will be at Stewart's draft tonight. Draft opens up against Central Woodstock.
Hmm.
I'm really curious what they can do. Now, if they had Baylor Graber this year, then yeah, they would be it would be a to me almost a three-team race, right? You'd have to go
Yeah.
Wilson, Riverhead, Draft as your top teams in the district. Graber, not having Graber, first of all, he was the odds-on favorite to in my opinion to be the player of the year in the district.
Mm-hmm.
He gets hurt in the final game of the season last year. By the time he gets surgery, he's not healthy. He's out most likely for the season. I keep hearing rumors that maybe maybe he comes back late in the season, but
Hmm.
Nathan Floyd said he's young and he's a senior, but he's still a young kid, right? And you don't want to jeopardize his health. So I don't
Right.
think draft's not going to do anything to jeopardize his health. So is he back late in the year? And even if he is he in football shape and ready to go? I don't know. I think you just go into the season expecting him to be gone for the year. And if he
Yeah.
comes back, okay, then you
That's
got
that's what I was like. You were saying Graber like before the show, like Graber's out. I was like, I know he didn't graduate last year,
no, no,
so I
no,
was
no.
like,
He was a junior, and he's not only amazing in the backfield on offense, he is just a tremendous linebacker. I mean, one of the
yes,
better defensive players that I have seen over the years. And draft has had their share of good defensive players, but Baylor Graber was great. They're going to have to figure out a way to replace him. But yeah, it's not like it was sudden. Like I think they knew in all season just because of where he was health wise that they weren't going to have him. But
right,
yeah, so they don't have Graber, and they lost Derek Moore, the quarterback. He did graduate,
yes,
and last year he was as a senior a first year quarterback, but he was spectacular last year too. So they've got two big parts of that offense and defense that they've got to
yeah,
replace. Um, so yeah, you asked me if anybody else besides Riverheads can challenge Wilson. I'm not ready to say draft can, but let me see them tonight. Let me see what
yeah,
they can do. Um, you know, I was I had to go on TV3 a couple of like a week or two ago, and they asked me for five impact players or five players to watch this season.
yeah,
One of the ones I gave them was Brandon Pritchett at Seward's Draft
yeah,
because he's going to have to take a little bit of that load, right? Last year he did some good stuff, but he wasn't the main attraction, right? Teams didn't have to focus on him.
no,
This year they'll focus on him a little more. So can he get the job done when he's, I don't know if he's the only. They've got some other weapons, but I think he's
mhm,
going to be relied on heavily. So let's see how he does this year. Um, I, Nathan Floyd and that coaching staff do a great job year in and year out. Draft's always a solid team, so I would
yes,
not count them out. They'll
yeah,
figure out a way, but yeah. So right now I think it's Wilson, Riverheads, and then I think there's a little bit of a gap there. I think that's not a pun intended there, considering it Buffalo Gap. Some people think Buffalo Gap might be in that mix too. There's a
yeah.
little bit of a gap there though between Riverheads and Draft. Draft can close that, I think, depending on how they play early this season.
Here's the
Um,
thing too with Gap. I'll go ahead and I don't mean to interrupt,
yeah,
obviously, but
no, it's your show.
yeah, I know. Yeah, that's the thing. So, with Gap, they had one of the worst seasons, regular seasons last year, like throughout. Like they were like, oh, but it's one beat, region one B, so they get into the back end of the playoffs. Credit to Wygan. I've known Wygan for a long time. He his coaching battled through that team, got him and run through the playoffs, beating Riverheads in Region One B final. Um, last year, and that's probably why people think Gap has a legit opportunity to compete with Riverheads and Wilson this year because of that Region 1B playoff run. What are your thoughts on Gap specifically before we get to the Riverhead side of things as well?
Sure. Yeah, that's exactly why people think, when you don't mention Gap as a favorite, people are like, wait, what about Buffalo Gap? And you're thinking about what they did in the playoffs last year, which was great, right? I mean, they had an amazing run and got to the state semifinals. And I was at that game against Rappahannock. They should have won that game. They
Yeah,
they were they were there. They had the lead. They let it slip away late in the game. Late in the game, they had a chance to win that thing at the end. Some crazy penalties that came in that I don't know how accurate those were, but Buffalo Gap probably should have won that game and could have then won a state championship. But and I think they're thinking that they can do that again this year. The thing about the Shenandoah district, and I think we got a little spoiled with Riverheads and how good Riverheads was in 1B or in class 1 for all those years, and the dominated the Shenandoah district at the same time. That's not
Yes.
always the for most of these teams. You look at Riverheads and Buffalo Gap and all other sports, they take their lumps a lot of times in district play,
Yep.
um, because the district is full of, you've got class 3 teams, class
Yep.
2 teams, and then you've
Yep.
got the smaller the class 1 teams. And so Buffalo Gap and Riverheads a lot of times in other sports take their lumps, and then but they get great experience playing these tough teams. And come playoff time, Region 1B is not super strong. A lot of those teams don't have districts as good as the Shenandoah district, so
Hmm.
don't play. They don't play the competition that Buffalo Gap and Riverheads play, and so then you end up getting in the playoffs and make a run, and you look at their record and you're like, what? It makes no sense because their record is just mediocre, and yet they are able to do something because they're battle tested, right?
Yep.
I think that's what happened to Buffalo Gap last year. A lot of one score games. I think they only had 4 wins in their regular season, something like
Yeah, it
that.
was something like I
They
remember the Fort game specifically with the Buffalo Got Bison, um,
the Fort beat
because
them.
they were
Yeah, so
yeah, that Fort game was like because I remember I think that was one of the ones I covered last year before I stopped covering stuff for the DNR, and I remember going to that game. It was a close battle throughout, and it was um, up and down the field, game, but Fort ends up, better offense with Coach Yo and pulling it out in the end. I think Buffalo Gap tried a few things, tried a few get pass plays that didn't quite work as well. And I felt like that game could have been a Bison win if a couple of things gone with their way later in the game. But I think that was one of the games that I think was a catalyst for that run, like you said, because it was a battle tested game, like they were battle testing throughout
yeah.
the season. And also I think the Riverheads game in the regular season was close.
Yeah, I
If I
mean,
remember,
Rivers won that game, but it wasn't a blowout, a 2 score game or something. I think. I think the thing that got everybody thinking that Buffalo Gap could be a contender this year, I think, was the Riverheads game in the playoffs, right? The
yeah,
regional championship, where that game was close. If I don't, all these things blind. I think they were trailing at halftime,
yes,
and then they just exploded in the second half.
yeah,
And Isaac Golf, who Buffalo Gap does not have this year, he graduated.
yeah,
Isaac Golf 7 touchdowns against Riverheads a year ago, and that was the game that got everybody's attention. I believe, it was
yeah.
like you beat Luray, okay, fine, but beating Riverheads, and beating them soundly, I think was just kind of got everybody's attention. So
In Greenville too, right? It was the regional
yeah,
championship.
it was at Riverheads. Now, so we'll see. Buffalo Gap again. I don't think they're going to have a. I don't think they can win. I'm not going to say they can't win the district. I don't think they
Yeah,
will win the district.
no,
Um, but I don't think that's their. Obviously, they want to win. You're a competitive team. You want to win everything you can. Brad Wygan has done a great job out there.
yes,
They know that it's not winning the district that matters. It's playing your best when playoff time rolls around. He had them ready to do that last year. They showed it. I think they can get there again this year. I think 1B is going to be great. I think 1B could go. You could see another Riverheads Buffalo Gap regional championship. I mean,
yeah.
Alta Vista might have something to say about that, but
Do you
I
think
think
do you think Luray has something to say about that, or did
you
they
know what
move up?
Luray could be very good this year.
Yeah,
Luray, they played well last year. I've heard good things about them. We don't cover Luray here at the Newsleader, but I have heard good things about them. So Region 1B's gotten tougher.
yes,
But I still think Gap has a great chance of making another run this year.
yeah,
But we'll see. I mean, they got to figure out how to replace Golf. It always starts up front with them, and I think their offensive line could be Caleb Deaver is really strong, and I think the offensive line could be solid this year. Um, you got some players back there with Jaden Humphrey, Cooper Reed, um, Jude Jude Lauk. They've got some talented players, and Brad Wygant and that staff will find ways to get them the ball and make sure they get in open field. So I think Buffalo Gap could be really good, but if I'm looking at the district, I'm probably putting them fourth,
Yeah.
fourth or fifth. I think Allegheny could be up in that mix as well. So for
Yeah.
me, it's Wilson, Riverheads, Draft, then probably Gap, and then Allegheny, or you could flip.
Yeah.
Allegheny, Draft, and Gap. You could probably put them in any order you wanted to right there.
Yeah. It's interesting you have, Allegheny. Granted, I only really know about the teams here. Obviously, Allegheny and Rockbridge are tough to tell right now what they're going to be until they come up this way for the couple of
Rockbridge
games.
has not been good for a number of years now.
Right.
They've struggled to win a game. I think that's going to be the same this
This
year.
year.
Maybe they'll show some improvement on the field, but I'm not sure you're going to see that improvement in wins and losses.
Right.
So I don't think you have much to worry about with the Rockbridge. Allegheny, obviously, last year was coming into the season one of the teams to beat. That
Yes, they
Wilson
were.
win over them was huge
Yes.
last year for Wilson. They lose Des Jordan.
Yes.
We don't cover Allegheny either, so I don't know a ton about them, but I know they've got Elliott back at. He's coming. He's going to play quarterback. He played. I think he played receiver last year,
Yes.
and they're going to move him into quarterback this year down there. They've got Austin Green back at. I
Yeah.
think that's his name, back at receiver. Buddy White at running back. They've got some talent down there.
Yeah.
I would not sell them short this year. I think
Yeah.
watch for Allegheny. They're not going to be what they were last year. They're not coming in as one of the favorites to win the district.
Right.
I don't know if they can play with Wilson or even Riverheads, but I think after you get past those two, I think they can be in that mix. So
Yeah, because that's the thing about Allegheny last year, because they were just entering into district for the first time. And remembering them coming up and playing Waynesboro and seeing Des, I was like, oh, and I heard the news about Allegheny going to Shenandoah District. I'm like, oh, okay, they're gonna make some noise. And then that Wilson game comes, and Wilson just dominate. That game against Allegheny was probably the most impressive game last year by far for Wilson, I think. Other than the Riverheads game, obviously too. So speaking of Riverheads, I have to ask this question. Is there a lot of pressure on Norcross this year to get a better result than what they did last year?
I mean, no, I don't. I mean, he's putting pressure on himself, right? All right. You talk to Ray Norcross, he wants to win. He knows
Yeah.
what he's been around that Riverheads program a long time. He knows what it means to have to win. And I'm going to plug my laptop in here too because it's going to die here in a second. So
Oh no, yeah, I don't want to lose you.
But he doesn't. He knows what it means at Riverheads to win, and he knows that last year. This is crazy to say, but 8-5 and a regional runner-up,
Yeah,
is not what Riverheads fans expect.
no,
8-5 and a regional runner-up is what most any team in this area would take. If you
100%.
said this is what you're going to get this year, most teams would say, "Okay, we would be happy with that." Well, everybody wants to win a state championship, okay, but everybody knows they can't win a state championship. 8-5 and a regional runner-up is a pretty good season. Not if you're Riverheads.
no,
This is a team with 10 state championships, 7 in
yeah,
a row.
yeah,
They want to be back in the state playoffs. They want to win another state championship. So I think he puts pressure on himself. I don't think he's going to get fired.
no.
I just
I
don't think
was.
that's the way.
Yeah,
I don't
I
think
mean,
that's the way Riverheads works, right? I
yeah,
just do not say, if he comes in and has another season where they don't make it to the state playoffs. No, he's not on a hot seat or anything.
right,
Will he decide to retire at some point? I mean, I don't know. He's not going to coach forever. He
right.
was an assistant for a long time. He's been around forever. At some point, he's going to step down. I think he would like to get them back to, if they could get an, I'm not going to speak for Ray Norcross. He's never told me this, but if they could get back to a state championship game, win another state championship, maybe that's the way you want to go out, right?
Yeah.
Maybe that's the way you want to go out. I think he wants to get that program back to that level before he leaves. So yeah, pressure, yeah, just the normal pressure that any Riverheads coach would have. But
Right.
I don't think there's pressure from administration or anything like that.
Didn't their administration change this past offseason too, or was there the
They
one that
they
stayed?
did not. They are the only Augusta County school with the same athletic director. Patrick
Okay.
Weller is the athletic director there. The other 4 Augusta County schools all have new
Yeah.
athletic directors.
Makes yeah.
But Patrick Weller, who is also the boys basketball coach there at Riverheads, is still he's now the veteran athletic director in Augusta County. Of
Yeah.
course, David Tibbs still hanging on at Stanton,
That's
and
it.
he's been around for a while. So yeah. So I don't know. I think Riverheads this year. I think Riverheads is going to be good. They were somewhat of a young team last year. I had 10 seniors or something, but still somewhat to me a young team, inexperienced. This year, I think their line is a little better, not huge, but just aggressive and they do the kind of things that Riverheads wants to do with an offensive line. Jackson Fitzgerald is going to be. I think if Riverheads can win the district, or even if they don't and they make it close, Jackson Fitzgerald could be your player of the year offensively. Jackson Fitzgerald is really good. He's the player to watch to me. I mean, if Wilson's going to obviously have some players that'll be in that mix as well,
Yeah.
but I really like Jackson Fitzgerald. He's. I talked to Coach Norcross. He said he's in the best football shape that he's been in. He's also a track. He also runs track, and usually by the time he comes into the season, he's not always in perfect football shape. He's in good track shape, right? He's in shape, but it's just not football shape. He said he's taken it seriously this year. He's in the best football shape that he's seen him. He wants to play at the next level. He has some Division III schools that are interested. So Jackson's going to be motivated to play well because he wants colleges to come and offer him something. He is going to be. I watch him this year. He's going to be fun to watch. They have other players. I mean, Skylar Shiflett is back, and he played well last year. The quarterback, Kendall Edwards, is back. And they've got some other backs. They've got a deep backfield at Riverheads. They've got some other players that can run, some players that have made some noise at the JV level. Let's see if they can do it at the varsity level. Their defense was not great last year. Ray Norcross has been very vocal about, and he's the coach. He is the defensive coach. So when he says, "Hey, we weren't good last year," he's not throwing anybody under the bus except himself. He's really focused on making that defense better this year. I think Riverheads. I would tell you, I asked before the season. I've done this last couple of years. I've asked some local media personalities. What is the game that you're looking most forward to watching regular season this year? A lot of people picked Riverheads Buffalo Gap. Makes sense because of that game last year in the regional championship. I had somebody pick Riverheads Allegheny or Riverheads Alta Vista, which should be another good one because that's a couple of teams that could go deep in the playoffs. You had people pick Turner Ashby Wilson. Obviously, that's a measuring stick for both of those programs. TA is really good, but TA lost a few people as well. So where do they fit in? They're going to both square off in the Region 3C playoffs. So how does that work out? So that's a big game. I'm the only one that picked Riverheads Wilson, and I picked that game. First of all, nostalgia, right? I mean, I just remember the great Riverheads Wilson games there for about a 3 or 4 year stretch when Matt Cullen was the quarterback at Wilson, and they were such great games. But I also think that could be the game to decide the district championship this year. And I don't know how much district championships mean to people anymore. They don't. I mean, the playoffs are what really matter, but I think that game could be the deciding factor in who wins the district this year when Riverheads and Wilson play. 2 years ago, Wilson could have won that game and lost by a point. If you remember, they
Yes.
went for 2 points there
Yes.
at the very end of the game, and went into some interesting looking formation, and it just did not work out. And
Yep.
then last year, they beat Riverheads. Um, this year, I think that game could be a phenomenal game, and I think whoever wins that game will have the advantage in winning the district. So
Yeah. So that was the game I was going to circle for San Diego district play. Um, but I would be one of those TA Wilson guys. If you asked me that same question. But for Shenandoah district play, I 100% agree with you because that stretch in like September 18th, September 25th for Wilson is going to be their season. I think those two games are going to be their season because I think too. After that, pretty much I would have Wilson favored in every other game.
look at Riverheads though. Look at Riverheads' schedule. I don't have it in front of me right now, but I think it's Alta Vista week 2,
Yeah.
and then in some order they've got Draft, Gap, and Wilson. I'm not sure which order that goes in without looking at the schedule, but I think those games are like all in a row, and that's going to be a great test for Riverheads
Yeah.
to see where they end up. And as you said, I think that's a big stretch for Wilson. So it's going to be a fun. Those teams are going to both be fun to watch, and those stretches, those first several weeks of the season are going to be a big telling point on where both of those
Yeah.
teams could end up
So
this year.
you're right. It's Alta Vista after tonight,
Mm-hmm.
next week.
Yeah, they open
And
to Smith Mountain Lake at Smith Mountain Lake tonight. Smith Mountain Lake, that it's a for those who don't know, it's a private school that's now joined the Virginia High School League, kind of
yeah.
like LCA did. There
Yeah.
are people that aren't happy about that, but right now, Smith Mountain Lake is not LCA. Smith Mountain Lake is building towards being LCA.
Yeah.
Give them a few years.
And
They've got some money behind them. They've got some people down there directing things. They're going to be really good in a few years, in maybe every sport. But this year, I don't think Riverheads has a whole lot to worry about. They got to go down to travel down there, so that's always a tricky thing traveling. But I really don't think Riverheads has much to worry about. So Smith Mountain Lake after, and then after that, it gets difficult for Riverheads.
Yeah, because you got Alta Vista.
You were saying Alta Vista.
Yep. You got Alta Vista Draft, Buffalo Gap, Wilson Memorial, then Fort, then Rockbridge County, Allegheny, Stanton, Waynesboro. So similar end for.
Look at that stretch, though. Look at that stretch. Alta Vista, Draft, Gap, Wilson. That's a 4. We will know everything we need to know about Riverheads after that 4-game stretch.
Oh, 100%. 100%. I like how they built the schedule. I don't like the week 1 bye for Wilson because I know Coach Bird's going to do his thing and get them ready for next week and at Spotswood. The only bad thing is I think week 1 buys in high school. Let you make sure you.
Sorry, had a dog who needed out.
I don't blame you. Week 1 buys is one of those situations for me where I'm like, I don't know if I like week 1 buys in high school. I don't know what your thought process behind that is, because it can be like, yes, it's an extra week of practice to get ready for your opener, but at the same time, you don't have a break in the middle of the year now. You have to play the whole regular season, maybe get more risk of injury. But that's
I don't think it does anything. I don't think it gives you any kind of advantage. I think you're right. An open week there in the middle of the season is great for rest. An open week on the very last week of this regular season, that can come into play if you're a playoff team, and you get a little extra rest and maybe some chance to heal up a little bit before you go into the playoffs. I can see where that's an advantage. But yeah, week 1, I mean, your kids have been practicing for a month now or whatever, and they're really ready to go. And they played a couple of scrimmages, but those aren't real games. You're ready to play football, and now everybody else starts tonight, and you have to sit and wait another week. I'm not a huge fan of those week 1 buys either.
No, I'm not either. And the fact of Wilson at Spotswood then get their home opener against Gap, which is Spotswood's going to be a measuring, like Wilson's schedule with Spotswood, then Gap, then TA, then Riverheads to open the first 4 weeks. That could be a measuring stick for Wilson. The 2-3 seed, 2 Valley District teams mixed
Yeah, because
in
I think
there.
Spotswood might be better this year. I mean, Spotswood
Mhm.
was pretty, a good team last year, but not great. I think they could be better this year. Yeah, no, we'll see. We'll know a lot about these teams after for 3-4 weeks of the season. We always
Yep,
do. Obviously, you always once they
yep,
take the field for a few games, but it's not like they have any cupcakes, a bunch of cupcakes early on. And they're going to get tested early, both Riverheads and Wilson, and we're going to know a lot about both of them coming into that matchup between the two of them.
yeah.
So I'm,
Let
I'm I'm looking forward to it. We'll
yeah,
see. But right now I will say Wilson. I'll stick with Wilson Riverheads, maybe 1A 1B
yeah.
in that
Yeah,
district.
that's I think I'm with you as the Wilson alum. I think Wilson is the best team in the district
I'm just
right
saying
now.
that because they're the defending champs, right? I mean,
Yeah,
they're the defending champs, but if you ask me right now, could Riverheads beat Wilson? Yeah, Riverheads can beat
yeah,
Wilson, and
100%. I think
I don't know if
I
they
think that
will, but they
Riverhead's
can.
team always has a chance. No matter always has a chance any given year because of
Sure,
how legitimate that program has been over the last 20 years
sure,
plus.
sure.
So let's get to some of the schools we didn't talk about, like Fort, Waynesboro, Stanton. Um, Obviously you're the Stanton paper, so let's start with Stanton. Those three. Your thoughts on the Storm heading
Stanton
into
lost a lot of players from last year. They've got a lot of young or inexperienced players on that team this year. I love Michael Bell. He is a great coach, and he will get the most out of them. I just don't know what that is. Like I don't
yeah,
know. I don't know what the ceiling is for Stanton. Uh, Luke Jaffard, watch him. If you remember his brother Mark, who
yep,
is now at Washington and Lee.
yep,
Luke is a junior. Did some good stuff last year. I think he could be a really good player this year. You're going to
yep,
see him be explosive. He's going to need to because they're going to have to fill some gaps from last year. I think Luke's going to fill in for that. Um, Other than that, I mean, they're young, and we're just going to have to see. They play Harrisonburg tonight. That should be a win. Harrisonburg has not been a great program
yep.
for a while.
And they
They
just
should
replaced their
win.
coach for the umpteenth time up in Harrisonburg. Got a new coach up there.
They should. Stanton should win that game tonight. I'm not sure what you'll get out of that game, but I don't know. I'm not sure Stanton is a playoff team this year. We'll see. Anything
Yeah,
can happen. Maybe they can pull a few upsets. They need to flip a few games from last year. They lost that Waynesboro game last year, which was a
yes,
tough loss for them.
yes,
They need to be able to win that game. There's a few other games that they could flip that maybe they can sneak into the playoffs. But Region 3C is so tough to get into the playoffs.
yep,
It's not 1B. It's not two. It's not even 2B where
yep.
it's you don't have to. You can be a mediocre season and still get into the playoffs. In Region 3C, you got to have a strong season to get in, and I'm just not sure Stanton's going to have that year this year.
Well, I think with that new VHSL proposal, it might get easier. I think starting next year, right? With that proposal,
Next year is where Turner, Ashby, and all the Valley District teams move out of Region 3C.
right?
They move to 3B, but you're going to get some teams that come in to 3B that or 3C that are probably as good. So, I don't know. I don't know if 3C will ever get easy. It's just a
Right.
tough. It's a tough thing. If you can get away from LCA, that would be nice too. And
That
and
that's the
the
that's
Valley
the tough
District gets
part
away
about
from
3C.
LCA, the Shenandoah District is left to have
Yep.
to still
Yep.
play those teams. So
Yeah, and then Western. Did Western move up to back up to 4?
that I don't know. I would have to
Okay.
check that stuff. So I'm
I
not
have to check it out.
I do not keep track of the Charlottesville and Albemarle teams very closely. So
Right.
probably not as closely as I should, but it's about all I can do to keep up with the teams I have to.
I know you work hard. You do a really good job of what you have to do. So, um, my thoughts on Stanton is I remember asking you at one of the games that I saw you at, and I was like, I think it's after the 3-0 start, right, for Stanton. And I was like, is Stanton going to make noise? And then they ended up losing the rest of their games and not making any noise at all. Um, could we see a similar start for the Storm, you think, and then like that kind of a situation again as last year.
I'm pulling up their schedule now. So as long as my phone would cooperate.
Yeah.
So let's see here what we've got for Stanton this year. Um, Stanton. Here they go. So they're gonna. So last year they they got off to that 3-0 start, as you said. They beat Harrisonburg, Rocktown, and Rockbridge. But the Rocktown and the Rockbridge wins were close. They were 1-score games,
Right.
which probably should have set off some red flags right there because neither Rocktown or Rockbridge was very good,
Right.
and Stanton had to kind of scrape by and beat them. Then the weird thing about Stanton last year, they played Allegheny and lost that game by 1 point.
Right.
And everybody at that point was thinking Allegheny could be the team to win the district, and Stanton goes in and almost pulls off the upset. So then you're wondering, well, maybe Stanton's a lot better, or is Allegheny worse? I don't know if we ever got a definitive answer of that. I don't think Stanton was much better, but I don't think Allegheny was much worse. I think it was just one of those games. This year, he's got the same kind of schedule going on. I'm just looking at the schedule. Can Stanton flip any of those games from a year ago? The Allegheny game, if they can somehow pull off a win there, that would be huge. Waynesboro, they've got to flip that game. They got to be able to beat
the game. They have to flip for sure.
They have to, if they have any hopes of a playoff, they got to beat Waynesboro. Draft, I don't see them beating them. I don't see them beating Gap, Wilson, River. So after that Waynesboro game, it gets tough. It's Draft, Buffalo Gap, Wilson, Riverhead's Fort. They beat Fort last year in the last game of the regular season.
I think Fort has a chance to flip that game. Personally,
possibly. I think they do. And Stanton, really, I don't know if they can flip any games except maybe Waynesboro. Like that's the one game where they need to flip. And then if they end up losing to Fort, then it just kind of washes everything out. You're back to where you were a year ago. So I don't know. We'll see what Stanton can do this year. I'm curious if they can go in and handle Harrisonburg's. Last year they won 28-0. I don't think the game was as decisive as that sounds. I don't think Stanton played real well last year in that game. I think they need to play better tonight.
Yes.
So we'll see there. You mentioned Fort. I think second year under Mike Yo, they could do well. I think he's a great coach. We know what he did up at Central. I think he could. He's now had an entire off season to work with these players. They know what to expect from him. I think Fort could be. I think Fort can certainly get into playoffs this year. They can sneak in at 2B. I think they'll be better this year. I'm looking forward to watching them play. I mean, they got Carter Berry back at quarterback, his second year there. So he's got, last year it was his first year as a varsity quarterback.
Yes.
Brand new coach. That's tough. That is tough to do. I think he will do just fine. I think they've got some other players on that team that are pretty good. I'm looking forward to seeing Cardillera, Roman. He can be explosive. I'm kind of seeing what he can do this year for Fort. So yeah, I like Fort Defiance. I just don't know. Again, I don't know what happens when you play. I don't know if they can beat any of those top teams.
No, I just don't think so.
Yeah, maybe. We'll have to see what happens with the Gap game, but we'll see what happens with them. But yeah, I think Fort and Stanton and Waynesboro. Waynesboro was one of those teams last year that won 3 games. They were not expected to win any games, right? They had the whole coaching fiasco where they hired somebody and then had to fire that coach before the season. And Nathan Bain came in late. And Nathan Bain did a great job. Like he got that team to the point where they could win 3 games. And can he do that again? I really think if they can get another, they're probably not a playoff team.
No.
But if they can have another season where they can win 3-4 games, maybe, then he's building something there.
Yeah.
He's got some he's got some buy-in. He go out, and there was a lot of players out at practice this year when I went out there. He's got players excited.
Yeah.
I think they need to win a few games to keep that excitement there, but
Right.
I don't think
That's
they're
the thing
winning
with
5 or
Waynesboro.
6 games this year,
Right.
but I think they can win another 3 or 4.
Yeah, that's the thing with Waynesboro. That's the complicated part over the last few years since, um, what was the coach that got fired before? The Bell situation obviously was catastrophic for them last year.
That was just yeah, that was just mishandled in a lot of areas, I think, and it was not a good situation.
Was it Brandon? Was it Brandon? It wasn't Brandon Lewis. It was Brandon something that was
Yeah,
before
you're testing my memory
Bell.
here.
But
It's
ever since he was the guy,
it was Brandon Jarvis. It was Brandon Jarvis.
Jarvis. That's who it was. Yeah.
And then Sean Moran was before him, and then of course Derek McDaniel came in
Yes.
before then. And Derek had made that team, turned that program around, got them into the playoffs for a couple of years. Had that magical run back in what was it, 2016 when they had that
I think it
magical
was 2016. Yeah.
run. I mean, he did a great job, and they've kind of been chasing that ever since. And then but then they went through that whole stretch where they lost 30 of 31 games, and they had 2 straight winless seasons. And but I feel like I like Nathan Bain a lot. Like, I've talked to him several times. I feel like he's a good coach out there. He's got good staff in place. He's got some buy-in from the players. Give him a chance. I think if he, again, don't expect a miracle out of him this year. Be happy if you get 3 or 4 wins this year.
Right.
But give him a few years to build. If he can get some of the younger players to come along, I think they could be really good. I think they could be back to being a solid team in the district. So I like him. I like him a lot. I like Nathan.
That's the thing too with Waynesboro, because that's the thing. I think they had a rocky start. It's contrast to Stanton, and then they won those 3 games in the middle, the 3 games in a row in the middle, I think, of the season last year, and then lost the last couple. If Bain, like you said, can build on that, get 3, 4 wins, I think that's a win for Waynesboro this year.
Sure,
I agree with you.
And then of course Rockbridge. I think Rockbridge is bringing up the rear again in the district, but we'll see. We'll see what happens.
We'll see about the Wildcats down there in Lexington. I think we've covered most of the teams. I think I think Coach Bird has the inside track for Coach of the Year, but I could easily see Norcross. I like your Fitzgerald pick for Riverheads. I did not expect that. I thought you were going to go with chalk with Wilson winning offensive player and defensive players, but
I mean, we'll see. Right? I mean, it depends on who steps up for Wilson. I think they're going to be a more balanced offense. So I don't think you're going to see one person dominating like did Kevon a year ago. Logan certainly has the potential to do that. Clinton Coffey could have a really big season this year. So I'm not saying that Wilson doesn't have a player that can do that, but I just really like Jackson Fitzgerald. I really like what he's doing this year. The coaching staff is going to ask him to block a little more, so I think he's going to be doing some of that. I like what I've seen out of him. I like what I've heard about him over the summer and coming into this season. So I'll make that pick now. We could come back in November and you could be like, "Boy, Patrick, you look foolish pretty right now." But but I like Jackson Fitzgerald.
I respect it. I respect it because that's the thing. Because like right now in my head, like I think Coach Bird and Coach Norcross are the 2 favorites for Coach of the Year. Now, if
it's whoever wins the district, right? Whoever wins the district probably gets Coach of the Year.
If Buffalo Gap makes a surprise run, I think Wygant should get a lot of votes this year. I really do.
He probably could. I don't know what a surprise run looks like for Buffalo Gap. Like I don't know. I think they just really are focused on getting back to the playoffs and getting there in a good shape. So we'll see. I don't know. I don't know if they can beat Riverheads regular season. And that's why a lot of people pointed to that Riverheads Gap game as a game to watch. If Buffalo Gap can pull off that regular season win, then that changes everything. I think then you have to kind of factor in Gap as a potential, and you worry about what that means for Riverheads. But we'll see at that point. But
that's the thing I hate. Like I wish a lot of the rivalry games are later in the year. Like Gap Riverheads is so early this year. You know what I mean?
Week
Like
week
it's
4,
really,
right? I think week 4.
yeah, week
Week 4 is
four.
a monster week, I think. So
Yeah, week 4 is a monster week this year because I think Wilson has I think it was Turner Ashby that week before they go down to Riverheads. So week 4 is a big week
well,
for local football around here.
yeah, I mean it will be. I think that I think that's a good week for. Yeah, I wish they would split some of those games up, as you said, just over the season because if you're a football fan, you just want to see those great games, and all of a sudden you've got one night where you have a bunch of those really really big games.
Yeah.
But and as a reporter that's in a one person sports department,
Yeah.
I hate that because
Yeah, yeah, it's tough.
I want to see a bunch of those games, and I can only pick one. So.
Yeah, that's the tough thing for you is because you can only get to go to one. I'll put you under the gun right now. Is Riverhead's Gap that week? Is that the one you're going to be at?
I have to look at the schedule again that week. Do you have the schedule right up the top?
Yeah,
I
I
know there's a
got.
bunch of big games. Because I thought there was another
Like I said,
really
Wilson
big
is
game
hosting
that
that
week.
night too on the 18th. That's what we're talking about here, everybody. The 18th of September.
It probably is though. It's probably the Gap Riverheads game that I would go to.
Because that's the thing. It's whatever gets most eyes to the paper, And I think
Sure.
that one.
And there's going to be a lot of. I mean, that's a huge rivalry, and everybody is curious. Can Gap repeat what they did last year at the end of the season? So yeah, I think that'll be a big game. We'll see what happens after tonight. I mean, Broadway. If Broadway comes in and pounds Gap pretty good, does that change the way people look at Buffalo Gap? It shouldn't. It
It
shouldn't.
shouldn't,
Broadway's
but
really good. Just
yeah,
understand that.
Broadway's one of the best teams in the Valley. In the
Yeah.
Valley, that's the thing too. I saw Jarvis had his standouts, top 5 standouts on TV3, and he had Wilson in his standouts. That was the only standout of the district team in his standouts. He had Strasburg in there at 1, TA at 2. I think Broadway was 3, Wilson was 4, and then Pendleton County was his 5th juggernaut of his
Yeah.
juggernaut.
Don't ask me anything about Pendleton County. I don't.
Yeah, no, I'm not. I'm not. But with that, I'm like Wilson being the only Shenandoah district team really shows that Wilson is by far, like not by far, but like clear ahead of Riverheads right now on that on his in his mind. I think
Sure.
Riverhead should have probably been in his 5, but I guess he had to have one from West Virginia
I'm
somewhere.
looking now to see. Well, yeah, and I think Pendleton County's supposed to be pretty good this year, and
Yeah, they
over
are.
there in West Virginia, I don't really. Let me see here. I'm trying to see if I sent. I have my top 5 that I put out, but I'm trying to find what it is, so I give you the same order, but I can't.
Yeah.
I
I know
can't find
Cody and
it.
them. I know they still do their like what top 7 or whatever.
Yeah, and I'm part of that too. So
Yeah.
I vote in that as well. And I was looking for my list that I sent in, but I can't off the top of my head. Can't find it now, and I don't want to give you the list and then
in the correct order.
it be wrong.
Yeah.
What did I do with that? I thought I texted it to Cody. Anyway, I don't know. It's someplace in here.
Yeah, I'm surprised I haven't seen it yet. That's the thing. And normally they release it right before the first night. So
I'm sure he would have released it, but I could be wrong.
Let me look. Let me look on Twitter. Normally that's where I
He's
see a lot
got
of
to
these.
put it out there because he asked us for it this past week. So
Yeah.
here we go. So let's see. My top 7 this week. I went Strasburg, Turner Ashby, Wilson, Broadway, Riverheads, Central, and then I put Buffalo Gap in at 7. And I think Draft might have been able to be 7, but I think Gap deserves a little credit off of what they did last year. So let's see what happens. Let's see what happens. But right now, I went with Gap at 7.
So the actual poll
Draft in there. So
yeah, I got the actual poll here from what everyone's panels was. So Strasburg had 13, Turner Ashby had 3. Someone voted Wilson 1, which as an alum, I appreciate it. But
it wasn't me. Adam 3. I wasn't quite that high on Wilson this year. They're going to be good, but they're not Strasburg or maybe they're TA good. but I'm not sure
Yeah.
they're Strasburg good.
I don't think they're strong. That's the thing about Strasburg. Strasburg is one of the best teams. Well, also receiving votes: Stuart Strap, East Rock, your Buffalo Gap, Luray, Rocktown. So, and it looks like the people that voted on it, obviously you, obviously Steve, who is also a big one around here. Hubert's at the game tonight with Broadway. I think Steve's going to be there with you tonight at Draft Central.
Okay.
What I just saw on Facebook. So keep an eye on Patrick, keep an eye on Steve Cox of City County Sports
Yeah.
for all that stuff. Um, but yeah, so you got Cody,
I think
Shane,
Jarvis and Connor up at TV3 vote in that poll as
yeah,
well. I
that
think he's
both
got
TV3
some
guys.
guys
Yep,
up in Winchester, that area, that maybe vote in it, if I'm not
yep,
mistaken. So,
yeah. And it's like Brian Shiflett, Dave Thomas, who's back at Harrisonburg, is also voting in this too
sure,
this year.
Dave's going to be at Fort tonight, I think. And Leland and by the way, Leland McCrae and Joe Deck will be on
Yep.
WTON, and they are going to be at the Broadway Buffalo Gap game.
Oh, they're going to do the radio from Buffalo Gap
Yeah.
tonight. Interesting. Okay. Okay. Yeah, Tommy Keeler, who's at Northern Virginia, who does Strasburg and all those teams up north, I think. Tuman, who's Winchester, so that's another guy up there. So yeah, a lot of the teams, Mario Rizroshi too from Harrisonburg. So a lot of the Harrisonburg radio group guys are on there. So yeah, those are the Shenandoah Valley polls. I used to be on there when I was a stringer, and I would get mine, and I was trying to find a way. But now, if I was on there, I probably would have been Wilson like you, Wilson 3 or Wilson 2, flip flop.
I mean, right
Depends.
now, I think you got to give TA the credit
Yeah,
they deserve. Right? Can Wilson beat them? Sure,
yeah,
but I think right now, just preseason, I would put TA ahead of
yeah,
Wilson,
yeah. That makes
and not going to be surprised if Wilson does win that game. But I think
yeah,
TA is ahead of Wilson.
yeah. I agree
Um,
with you there. I agree with you. I mean, it's just
and
you
Broadway
gotta get
might deserve to be up there. Broadway's are going to be a strong team. That's a four. There's four top teams are really could be really good this year.
yeah. All
I think
four
there are
of those.
five teams. The Riverheads could be really good this year too.
Yes,
So,
the 1 through 5, I like. I just don't know about Spotswood yet, and I get why most of the people up there around that Harrisonburg, Penn Laird
sure.
area that might have more insight than I do than you do on them have them there. I would probably have put either draft or gap in my
And I
7
think
ahead
yeah, I
of.
think it happens just because we're probably the teams you cover. You're just biased about who you cover. You see them more, right? I know more about. That's probably why I have gap in there.
Yeah,
But we'll see. I'm curious to see Central tonight. Curious to see
yeah,
what they have out of this mix. So
yeah.
it'll be a fun season, and that poll will change as the season goes. We'll have a much better idea. Week one's a bit of a tough thing to come out and pick those teams because you haven't seen any of them play, and uh, except maybe in scrimmages.
You're right.
I think you have a lot better idea after week one, and especially after you get a couple of weeks under your belt. You have a
Yeah.
much better idea where these teams fall.
Is Strasburg the defending state to
They did. They won the state champion.
Okay,
State
that
championship last year.
makes the most sense of why they're the
Sure.
best team right now.
Sure.
So
Yeah, I think they're going to be. I think they're really good this year. So
yeah.
I think they could
So
stay. They could be the team that stays in that top spot
for
for
a
us.
long time, all year, yeah. So because I could see a lot of movement from 2 to 7, but I think Strasburg's going to be I think they're going to be locked at 1 most of the year. So, before we head out, I want to give credit to one of my former assistants at Wilson. One of my former assistant, like as a coach of myself.
Yeah.
Shout out to Eli Crawford, getting that job at Waynesboro after winning a couple titles at Eastern Mennonite for a short time and fluctuating around. I'm glad he's finally a head coach in the area as one of the prominent high schools. I know Eastern Mennonite's like a private school, and I know how that works, and it's great. It was a great opportunity for him as a coach. But ever since I was at Wilson high school, like my high school career, he was one of the coaches that I had a sense like he's probably going to be one of the great coaches. I thought he was going to replace Rodney at some point throughout my high school career. I really thought he was going to be the one to replace Rodney. Now I'm glad they got Hartman. He's been doing a lot of things there, a lot of good things there. But this was before I knew who Hartman was and his resume and everything like that. Obviously, because I was just so loyal to my school, and obviously because I was a student at the time, so it's like I don't know a lot of the other schools. Um, and I was so glad when I heard that this summer that Eli got the job in Waynesboro. I'm like, maybe this is the coach to turn that program around. What are your thoughts on that hire? Like halfway through
I
the
hope
off.
he is because Waynesboro has struggled for so long at basketball,
Yep.
really since CJ DeWitt was
Yep.
the head coach there. And he took them into the state tournament a couple of
Yep.
times. And CJ was a really good coach. For those who don't remember, for those younger who don't remember CJ, Brad DeWitt, who is out at Stewart's Draft, is his son and was on his
Right.
dad's staff there at Waynesboro. Um, yeah, they were really good there for a while, and then they went through some tough stretches, as a lot of sports at Waynesboro have.
Yeah.
Can Eli turn them around? I think he can. I think he's a really good coach. I think he's done a great job. I think there's some talent there. So yeah, let's see what he can do. Let's give him a chance. I hope that he's able to turn them around. I hope they have good things at Waynesboro. It's funny, I've got a good friend, Chris Lassiter, who
Yep.
is a big Stanton guy. He never can understand how you could go from Stanton to Waynesboro to coach, right? You're a Stanton guy through and through. How could you ever align yourself with the rival?
Yep.
And that's exactly what Eli's done. Eli was a standout at Stanton basketball player,
Yep.
part of Paul Hatcher's, part of that 85 game win streak team,
Yep.
a big part of that 85 game
Yeah,
win
he
streak
was. Yep.
team. Eli was so good at that, at the high school level, and now he's going to be coaching at the rival in Waynesboro. But yeah, I think he could turn that program around. I hope he does. So
Yeah.
we'll see.
I'm looking forward to going to a couple of those games this year. I'm hoping to go to the one at Wilson when Waynesboro goes to Wilson. I hope that's in the cards,
Yeah,
because I'm looking forward to seeing Eli and what he brings to that Waynesboro program, especially against, let's be honest, the top team in the district over the last 3 years in Wilson. Them and Stanton have been the top two teams.
sure.
I think Wilson has been the best team, and I think again over what I've seen over the summer and what Hartman's been doing with like playing these like with the team, all these like kind of outside like Charlottesville kind of leagues and stuff like that. I think it's like the preparation they do at Wilson right now. It's been crazy.
Mason McWhorter is right now, right? He's the player of the year, right? And
Yep.
he's going to be the
Yeah,
player
he's
of the
going to
year.
be the player of the year again. I think. I'm
He's
looking.
he's the player, and Wilson will be right back up there at the top, I think, in basketball. But let's not push. I think Eli can build that program. I'm not sure he can build it in year one. Like
No, I know.
it's gonna take him a little bit of
It's going
time.
to take
But,
time. It's going to take time. But that's the thing. The last. How long was Spears there? 2 years? Years?
I think it might have been longer than that, but yeah, he was
Might have
there
been a couple.
for a few years. Yeah,
Yeah,
but
because I thought
Spears a good coach. He just didn't. That's part of the problem in a public school like that. You're dealt the cards you're dealt. You don't have you're not able to go out and recruit and get players like that. And so you go with who you have, and Spears did the best he could. But
he did the best he could. Yeah,
Eli's young. Young compared to me.
yeah.
Eli could be the coach that turns that program around. I hope so.
I think so. I know. We'll see because, like you said, DeWitt was the coach when I was of Waynesboro when I was through going through Wilson. Obviously, they had Shy Washington, um, Graves, Alex
Sure.
Graves.
Alex
That
Graves,
that
yeah,
team was like,
there were some really good Waynesboro teams back
yeah,
in those years, and so
yeah, and
they'd
then
like to get back to that. So
100%. One final thing I have for you before we
yes,
wrap up here. Your thoughts on the volleyball season so far? Now we've played what 2 games so far, volleyball
volleyball.
wise.
Yeah, most teams have played two. I think Riverhead's played their opener last night.
Yeah,
So I will say that I was one of the people that thought maybe Wilson could step up and challenge Fort Defiance this year. Right,
yeah.
Fort has not lost a game since 2019,
Gosh,
since
that's a
they got into the
long.
district. not have not lost a district game since
Okay,
2019.
let's
Just make
let's
sure they've
yeah,
not won state championships every year.
yeah,
They've been in the state championship the last 2 years, lost
yep.
that game, but they have not lost a district game since 2019 when they joined the Shenandoah district.
Mm-hmm.
Part of me thought maybe Wilson was the team that could end that streak this year. Wilson's loaded. Wilson has got tons of hitters.
Yep.
They're really deep. They're really balanced.
Yep.
Then this week came in, and it's only 1 week, and we don't know, but
Yeah.
Fort swept Turner Ashby to start the season.
Yeah.
Turner Ashby swept Wilson last night. So just from that, I'm like,
yeah,
maybe Wilson's still got a ways to go to catch Fort.
Yeah.
Fort lost Macy Frizzell.
Yep.
Macy was a great player all 4 years she was there. I know there's a lot of people saying, what are they going to do to replace her? I think they might be, I'm not going to say better this year, but they're more balanced this year. Caroline Hanger is my pick right now to be player of the year in the district.
Yeah, it makes sense.
She's amazing. They've got Harper Carter, who was a freshman at Buffalo Gap, sat out a season when she transferred. She's a junior. She's in the middle. She's a beast, is how her coach described her to me. She's a great middle. They've got Alexis Miller, who's their second year setting. She's playing really well. And Nora Anderson is their libero.
Yep.
They got a freshman, Maddie Gale, who has stepped up and is playing real. I've been hearing good things about her for a while now. She's a freshman in high school, and you're going to finally see her at a varsity level. Yep. I think she's going to be really good this year. You got Annalie Halterman, who sat on the bench some last year, but played some, and I think she's going to play a bigger role this year. Livia Kleindenst, who was the other middle, she had a huge year last year. She's going to be good. So Fort, I don't know. I really thought Wilson could, and Wilson still might. When they play, I think September 22nd is when they play.
Yeah.
When they play, Wilson could push Fort, but after this first week, I gotta say, I don't know. Wilson
might have to
without much trouble, and Wilson couldn't do that. So, so we'll see. But right now it's Fort and Wilson, and then it probably drops off in that district. I think the rest of the teams, like Stewart's Draft, could be pretty good this year. Allegheny could be pretty good.
Yep.
Stanton's going to have to replace some players, so it's going to take them a while to get there. Buffalo Gap made a run to the state tournament last year, but it's one of those things we talked about. They're really good in the district. Their record's not that great in the district, but they get tested. And by the time they get to the playoffs, they'll be good. Riverheads will be in that same boat. Riverheads has got some talent. I don't know if they'll have a great district record, but I think by the time they get to the playoffs, they'll be pretty good.
That's the thing about volleyball. It's so easy to forget about those 1B teams in volleyball because of how good Fort Defiance is and how good that program has been over the last.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you're Buffalo Gap, or you're Wilson or you're Buffalo Gap or Riverheads, and you play Fort Defiance twice a year, and you play Wilson twice a year, and you get beat, but you get tested. Man, you don't see teams like that when you get into Region 1B. And it makes it so much easier for the Gap and Riverheads because the teams they're playing don't play teams like Fort and Wilson.
No.
So right now I think it's a Fort at the top, then Wilson chasing them, and then you're going to see a mix there. I think the other teams could do pretty well. Waynesboro's got Lori Alshire back as coach. She took a couple of seasons off, but she's back now as head coach. So looking forward to seeing what she can do. I'm excited. I love volleyball. I like football, but I love volleyball. So.
Yeah, the volleyball is interesting too because obviously Macy Frizzell, who's at Bridgewater now, if I'm remembering right. Yeah, yes. Okay, so she's at Bridgewater. She was so good for them. For Fort last few years, and I thought there was an outside. Obviously, getting a D1 athlete out of this area is tough, but I thought she had a chance to get up to a D2 D1. She ends up at Bridgewater, which is fine.
I think Bridgewater's a great fit for her. I think she'll do really well at Bridgewater. I think that's kind of where she's a good landing spot for her.
Yeah, I think so too. But that's the thing with NIL now. You can, if she does really well at Bridgewater, maybe pipe dream.
Watch Caroline Hanger. That's the player to watch. Like the next few years, she is so good at volleyball. She's a junior,
Yep.
volleyball and softball. Good basketball player too. That 14 has just been down in basketball, but
Yeah, it has
she
been.
is so good at volleyball and softball.
Yeah.
I love Caroline Hanger. Like she is one of my favorite athletes that I've watched, and I think she is going to be fun to watch this year.
What are your thoughts on? I know, I've seen Augusta Siebert for draft getting a lot of basketball offers right now. Where do you think her landing spot get? Like,
She's probably a D3 player too, right? I mean, but that's great.
yeah,
Look, we say that as it's some kind of downgrade, but it's not. I mean,
no, it's
just to
not.
make it to college and play at college, most kids are never going to experience that.
Right.
Um, she is a great player. I think that's probably going to be one of her landing spots is a D3 school, and I think she could flourish there.
Yeah.
Ava Flippin's kind of the same thing. Ava Flippin just is not big. If Ava Flippin was 6 inches taller, maybe she
Yeah,
might
she
be
would be
might
like
be getting some
legit.
D1
Yeah.
looks, right? You could say that about any number of players.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I think that's just the way. But I love Gus. I think Gus is a great player. I cannot wait to watch that. We're still away from basketball, but I can't
Right.
wait to watch that Stewart Draft girls team again this year. They're
Yeah, they're gonna
loaded.
probably be
I
a
think they're
great
going to be
team.
really good.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. But it looks like a lot of the offers that were coming in were some D3 schools for
Yeah.
Gus, and I think she would fit well at
I
one of
think
those
so
schools.
too. I loved what I saw that front. It's just crazy to me too with like, the Tyler Nichols situation with him getting drafted to the Knicks and all that stuff. And it's like, do we have that like and obviously Owens who just committed to JMU like from Luray. Like it's crazy to see like guys like that in the 540 doing their thing.
Stanton has certainly had those players in the past.
Mhm.
Waynesboro has had those players in the past.
Yeah.
It's possible to get those players again, but right now I don't know if we have any of those players.
Yeah.
But
I think the
in the
closest
Shenandoah district, but
I
yeah,
would say
it's certainly
Mason is the
possible.
closest, but I just don't know. That's the thing. I think
Yeah, I'm not
Mahorter's
sure where Mason's going to land either. Mason can play. Mason can certainly play, and he can shoot with anybody. So
yeah.
we'll see where he winds up. But no, I don't know. I think it'll be a fun basketball season this year. But hey, we got to survive football and volleyball.
Yeah, we got to survive the fall, which let's just wrap this up. I would hope to have you. I think that's the thing. I'm going to plan on having you back that week 4 slate because that's
Okay.
probably going to be a big slate to talk about. Obviously, follow Patrick on. I would say Facebook, Instagram. I would say Twitter, but I try to tag you on Twitter. Did you delete your?
Nope, I do not have a Twitter account anymore. I got rid of my Twitter account. We do have a newsletter Twitter account, so you can follow NL. I think it's NL_sports.
Yeah.
So we do some stuff on there. But Instagram and Facebook are kind of my where you'll see most of my work and videos. Yep. Like that's the big thing now. We do a lot of videos with
a lot of videos
post
game, yeah.
And you'll see all those on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. I'm trying to get the TikTok account going too. So where all the kids reside there. I'm an old man trying to learn new technology. But,
exactly.
But
exactly. But yeah, you got obviously if you're watching me, you're obviously watching here on Ellis Highlight Reel on YouTube, TikTok. I got my Facebook at Brandon Ellis as well. I still have my X at 30BLS, and I have my Instagram at _BLS32 for social posts and stuff like that. And also, I'll probably get my blog. I'm hoping to email some of the ADs for credentials. That's the tough thing about credentials and all that stuff. If I can't get it, I can't get it. I'll just happily watch from afar and try to keep up with some of the stuff this year. But if I do have my blog, it'd be ellishighlightreel.wordpress.com for the local coverage. I'll still have like stuff for professional stuff that I've been doing on some of the other shows I have here. So that's what's been going on with me. And I'm looking, hopefully I get to see you on the sidelines, Patrick, of one of these games, but
let's hope so.
If not, it's okay. I get it. I'll gladly have you on the channel and then try to keep up with everything. So thank you again. Thank you again for watching, everybody. And peace out until Sunday for Off the Wall Baseball, everybody. All right. Peace out.
Thanks.